Hello, everybody, and welcome to this February reading from Best Small Fictions 2021. I'm Michelle Elvey. I'm the assistant editor for the series. It's very exciting to have this live reading today. I hope we have a lot of viewers out there coming at us on the YouTube channel. With us, we have 10 readers today. And as you might know, the series was started. Oh, sorry, I have a quick pause. Sorry about that. I have to pause my own video. Anyway, yeah, the series began in 2015 and it's been running ever since, every year. And every year it grows. It's a much harder job for the editors because there are so many amazing small fictions out there. So it's really exciting to be able to share, especially in these times, to be able to share these international readings, to have this many people in a room together, meeting each other and sharing their stories. And I'm coming at this from the South Island of New Zealand. So for me, it's especially exciting because I'm fairly far away from most people in the room. With that, I'll hand it off to Nathan Leslie, the editor of the series. And he and I have been working together several years, and under Nathan's leadership, it has really grown to be a very, very special book. And I'm going to hand it off to Nathan, and it's really exciting to see him because he lives in Maryland, which is actually where I'm originally from. So over to you, Nathan, in Maryland, well, in Washington, D.C. And yeah, hello from Dunedin.
Thanks, Michelle. Close to Maryland, Northern Virginia, right across the bridge. Thank you, Michelle, and thank you all for coming to this reading. We're here to celebrate Best Small Fictions 2021, which is a really exciting anthology. And this is my third go round as series editor. So for me, I feel like I'm starting to kind of get into the zone, so to speak. And it's a book I'm really proud about, as I'm sure you all are as well. So first of all, just a few thank yous. I want to thank Sonder Press, without whom this anthology would not be possible. They're a great press and they just support us in every way. Also, huge thank to Michelle Elvey for hosting today and tomorrow. Michelle has been absolutely the most important part of the Best Small Fictions Coalition over the past about 3 or 4 years, and her expertise and her know-how have been really invaluable to me and so helpful. I would also like to especially congratulate the authors included in this year's anthology. The works might be small, but it is no small feat to have your work selected for inclusion. It has become so competitive and the level of work is so extremely high. I read thousands and thousands upon pieces, and it is not easy to get into this book. So congratulations for what you've done. Lastly, thanks to all who tuned in and to those who listened to our wonderful authors share their gems, both today and also tomorrow. And I'm sure you will find much here to savor, admire, and love, and we appreciate the support. Now, here is the list of our readers. So first up, we will have Melissa Lanes Brownlee. Second will be Carolina Cabada. Third will be Epiphany Farrell. Fourth will be Tim Horvath. Fifth will be Carol Krauss. Sixth will be David Luntz. 7 will be James Miller. 8 will be Maria Picconi. 9 will be Jen Stinchkum. And 10 will be Megtuits. Enjoy. Thank you all.
So aloha, everyone. My name is Melissa Lanes Brownlee, and I'm actually currently living in Japan, although I am from Hawaii. So today's story is called A Primo Place to Stay, and it was originally published in the Citron Review, and it is inspired by the wild turkeys that live in Captain Cook or Kealakekua on the Big Island of Hawaii. So here we go. Turkeys screech on the oil-stained concrete driveway. She watches them through the louvered glass windows of the living room, strutting back and forth over greasy rainbows as she sprawls on the couch her right leg draped over the top, calf grooved with curved indentations of rattan. She hopes the neighborhood dogs won't scare them off or some asshole driving a truck too fast along the road. She likes the idea of wild turkeys wandering around the rainforest behind her house with their red wattles dangling on plump chests, pecking their way through the ferny undergrowth. She told other students on the mainland about them, but no one had known about the turkeys. They like to eat the fallen avocados from the tree next to the driveway. She doesn't blame them. They are delicious. Really, what kind of person would bring a turkey here and release it? She'd heard stories of pythons curled up near tiny streams, Jackson chameleons cruising tree branches, flocks of parrots buzzing people's houses. Turkeys? The idea of someone or multiple someones bringing in a turkey as a pet or as food and then thinking, hey, let's just let them go and see what happens, makes her smile and cringe at the same time. She'd once found a Polaroid she'd never seen before in her sister's photo album. She was small, sitting on the hood of a white sports car at night, holding a baby cougar, the dark sepia bleeding in from the white edges. If someone could bring in something that dangerous, then a turkey wouldn't even be a big deal. She listens to their squabbling as the breeze raises tiny bumps along her exposed arms. She can smell the afternoon rain coming. Its green, wet scent nags her to take the clothes off the line. Instead, the sounds and smells drive her deeper into the hard bird of paradise pattern cushions, the rattan creaking under her. She hates its cheesy, mocking aloha print, reminding her of mu'u worn for weddings, funerals, May Day celebrations, long, stiff material scratching her skin. The rattan furniture was for company, her parents insisted, but she likes the breeze that passes through the room. She stares at the palm leaf fan above her, dusty webs clinging to its wide bamboo fronds. The whole room makes her think of a hotel, not a nice hotel like in Waikoloa where the rich tourists stay, but an old hotel like Uncle Billy's in Kona, with worn carpets, faded drapes, and chipped furniture, remembering better days when Kona was just a small fishing village and the hotel was a primo place to stay. They used to stay there for family reunions when rooms were cheaper. Now they just have reunions at old age in one of the pavilions or camped down no po'opo'o. Going to reunions always meant work, cooking, cleaning, babysitting. People she didn't like talking to her about things she didn't care about. When she was younger, she always felt like she had to please everyone. Now she counts the days when she can just be away from them again. She forces herself to roll off the couch onto the ceramic tiled floor. The rattan bites into her side while the grout between the beige tiles presses into the edge of her knee. They are almost too cold to touch. She pushes up, each of her hands spread wide, fingers soothed and repelled by the chill, and gets to her feet. They don't feel the cold as much as her hands. Years of walking barefoot on smooth lava rocks to jump into the ocean had hardened and widened them. She hates shoes with their heel bleeding blisters, toe cramping, make your feet look pretty, not quite Chinese foot binding ways. She walks through her mother's idea of a holiday country kitchen, all white crockery and towels you can't use, and out the screen door. She puts on her slippers and realizes she'd forgotten to grab a laundry basket. She hates laundry. She hates the sorting, hanging, folding. She hates that she can't use the dryer unless it rains all day. She kicks off her slippers and slams open the screen door, hitting the side of the house with a loud bang. She hears a concert of squawks from the front of the house. She walks quickly through the kitchen and into the living room, only to see that all the turkeys have vanished. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining. My name is Carolina Cabada, and I'm zooming in from Lincoln, Nebraska in the United States. My piece is called Star Count of Orion, and it was originally inspired by an annual star counting event that I read about in The Guardian that uses the constellation Orion to measure light pollution. And so I wrote this piece in response. And it was first published in JMWW. One long night in Orion, one long night in December, Orion, yes, that Orion, was my lover. We met at a diner. Orion waved away the cream that came with his coffee carafe. He took his coffee black and said that milk was like a crude street lamp leaking artificial light into something pristine. He was a bit mean, but I was drawn to him anyway, like I was lost at sea and he was there, taking up the whole sky to help me navigate safely. When we got back to my place, I tried to stay up all night. I ate caffeine pills when I ran out of coffee grounds, black tea, and chocolate-covered espresso beans. But on my last cup of Brudge Brand dark roast, he shook his head and laughed when I added in a few drops of half and half. I didn't have a plan of seduction. In general, I am drawn to liquids and warmth, and so I thought he might be the same. Of the soups I could make on my single burner, condensed cream of mushroom, condensed chicken noodle, condensed beef stew, he didn't have a preference. But we took our bowls out onto the balcony in the below zero weather, polar night of an Arctic winter. I could only handle about 5 minutes of the cold, even with my many layers and the hot soup burning its way down my throat. Orion stood out there for hours, looking for his place in the sky. The soup froze. We had the rest of the night and we took it. He told me to turn off the lights, close the blinds and the curtains. I found another blanket to cover the window. In the blackout, he was bright like alarm clock numbers at 3 a.m, only he was bright that way everywhere. At the tips of his elbows, all across his freckled nose, luminescent eyelashes, fingernails, happy trail. He tasted like good espresso and felt like a first wish, sincere and deep. He told me in our afterglow that he was wandering because he was fading. There was too much light in and out of the city. When I woke up at polar twilight, pink horizon at the edge of a navy blue sky, he was gone, and he didn't return when true dark fell again. Now I drive incessantly, city to prairie to mountain, Arctic to Antarctic. I avoid the midnight sun. Every time I stop, I look up and count the stars inside the four corners of that body, less than 10, and he's not really there. I burn fuel to move and linger on the 3 pins of his belt. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Epiphany Farrell. I'm in Southern Illinois. My story, Regeneration, was first published in New Flash Fiction Review. It was actually inspired by a series of factoids. Regeneration. The doctor told her it wasn't exoskeleton. Melanoma can hide in surprising places, she said. But, Cassie said, our bodies acquire trillions of new mutations every day. Why couldn't it be exoskeleton? Dr. Orr patted Cassie's melanomaed claw. Always look on the bright side. We caught it early. There would be a scar right in the middle of her lifeline. She had spots of melanoma in her right ear, inside the shell of her ear too. She could hear houseflies humming from across the room in the key of F. She hummed with them, harmonizing. Her daughter treated her like the enemy. You never let me have a childhood, she said. Of course there had been a childhood. Cassie had documented it meticulously. See, it's here. It's right here. Your childhood. It's in my phone, on the cloud too. See? Here's where we went, to the botanical garden. And here we are at Johnny Cash's childhood home, she said, brandishing the device at her daughter. Mom, that's Instagram. That woman has hands, not claws. That child is happy. It's not even us. Cassie sat under the umbrella on the back porch. She always thought she'd become something beautiful, that the death and regeneration of cells would at last produce a work of art, or failing that, at least someone who knew how to be a good mother. Cassie watched her daughter, her young cells regenerating every day, and she tried to stop it, to hold her daughter in place with filters and funny captions. There were so many pictures, band concerts and plays, softball games and science fairs. She used her elbow to slide the screen. Her mutated scorpion hands could no longer do it. Even a small amount of alcohol will make a scorpion go crazy and sting itself to death, she said, reaching with pincers into the bottle for the worm. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Tim Horvath. I'm joining you from the seacoast of New Hampshire in the United States, our 18 miles of coastline. The story I'm going to be reading tonight, Chop, appeared originally in the journal Big Other, and it was inspired by, actually through a collaboration with a composer and musician and instrument inventor, Rafaela Andrade, a friend of mine. And she designed and built Knurl, which is a 16-string electroacoustic cello. It looks kind of like a spaceship. For each of her tracks, I wrote a short story. And so this one was called Chop. I am trying to keep myself busy while the world is on hold. And so I do what I've always done. I chop. I cannot go to the store. I cannot go to the beach. I must stay inside, but I can chop. Keep the muscles active, keep them steady, keep them taut, keep them firm. They cannot stop me from chopping. I cannot sleep at night. In my dreams, I'm chopping. Carrots, beets, onions, tomatoes, squash. I behead shrimp with brio, with glee, tugging at their spines with extra brio. In my dreams, I chop vegetables that do not exist in the daytime. Maybe they're somewhere under the earth, undiscovered. Maybe they're vegetables grown in the underworld. She does the chopping, I do the chopping. She comes home with misfits. A misfit can be anything from a cucumber that looks like it has a tumor to a tomato that's gushing its guts. I chop without judgment. Since we've been getting the misfits, I've stopped remembering what perfect fruits and vegetables look like. Sometimes I'll go online to remember. It's like looking at a fake world, though. A turnip cannot possibly look like that. The dreams grow more intense, sprawl out. In them, I'm no longer confined to vegetables and fruits, to organic things. I chop buildings, which makes me sound like some kind of monster out of a Japanese disaster film, someone who would do battle with Godzilla one day and team up with him the next. But in fact, that is not me. I chop at the seams where the apartments and hallways meet one another. There's an elderly woman somewhere on the 4th floor, and not only do I chop carefully around her, I delicately remove a mole she has borne for the entirety of her 80-something years. As she gazes in the mirror, searching for it, at first she thinks her sight is going, then her mind. She might never set foot outside again, not the way things are looking, but every time she steps in front of that mirror, it's as though she's dancing again, as she did 62 years before she'd been self-conscious about the mole, when it was a soft little gemstone, before she thought she was a misfit. We'd passed each other 100 times and nodded hellos. Then once in the lobby, rain shearing, me in chef's garb and no umbrella, she with dinged gray radio in hand, antenna fully out and bent toward that mole, barely pulling in the station. She spoke about a night in Gdańsk. I told her I made a mean pierogi. When the storm eased, I made a dash for the train, and our hellos were different from then on. She might never go into a restaurant again, and thus I will not be in the kitchen, but I like to be behind the scenes anyway, chopping fierce, like I can out-chop time itself. Make the slices so thin you can see through them. So if I put my finger up to one, you'd see the whorls of my prints and what might be a scar, who can be sure? I wash the food before I chop it. I will let you in on a secret. If you spend a full 20 seconds washing an apple by hand, by the end you will know that apple intimately, will feel like you made that apple from scratch. You'll be a charter member of the Apple Makers Guild. With that apple, you could tempt Eve, could tempt Adam, could tempt God. God chopped first, split the light from the darkness with the very first sweep of the hand. I'm not sure if I believe anymore, not in these times. What I believe in is the next chop. I know that eventually all the knives will go blunt, go dim. I'll have to go and get them sharpened. There's a guy who's started coming around the neighborhood again in his truck. He comes in a mask, and I almost think of him as an executioner, except he's going to breathe new life into these knives, and in so doing, into me. I can't wait to see him, but right now we can't afford anything extra. We're buying misfits and saving our coins. I dream I pay him with a coin I've chopped so thin it is many coins, some of them dull, at least one of them gleaming.
Thank you so much, Tim. That was beautiful. My name is Carol Krauss, and I'm joining from Toronto. I'm going to share a poem that was published in Manola Review. And this poem is about being unprotected. It's called Inside, Outside. If I could learn to habituate, it would be easier to cross the street. I would have a layer over my flesh that says, this is outside, this is inside. When I looked at the sign on the subway car, it would seem perfectly insignificant. The eyes on the faces of strangers would not pop out at me. And everything would be equally devoid of meaning. I would sit there on my little red seat, music in my ears, and the world would not bang along with its giant drum. And when I headed home, I would be protected from the salience of a cardboard box on a front yard. I would not particularly care that the box was filled with toys that had been chewed by a toddler and grasped by a 5-year-old. And when I was mindful, as I would try to be, each breath would plummet into oblivion, sliding away from me into the already gone place I rarely think of. And I would not notice the banter from the other world with fingers in my ears, and the invisible hands upon my shoulders would be forgotten in the midst of the next project. It would be good to be alive because it would be quiet. And I would carry on with my life, doing the things I am expected to do, meeting people at parties and writing my name next to my profession. I would be considered healthy and well-adjusted because I would not feel the cries of the world deep within my flesh. My doctor would say, "You are doing well." I would score low on every deviance test, and the schizo behind my name would be crossed out in yellow ink. This seems like something to strive towards. I practice separating inside, outside by sitting beside a stranger on the streetcar. "Teach me your ways," I say. But he does not notice as he digs his fingers inside his pocket, trying to find something that he lost. It is small and red and has 4 holes poked in the middle. A button, perhaps? I tap his shoulder and smile. "Is this what you are looking for?" His eyes open into wonder as they fill with button. I can feel him tremble wide open on his little red seat. And I don't ask him what it is about this small circular object that seems to fit the whole world inside. It's rather big, isn't it? The button? "10 months later, I exit the subway with a mask. There are no more parties, at least not the inside kind. The salience of strangers' footsteps sounds a global alarm. The danger of an outstretched hand now sanctioned by the state. There are so many of us now, the maladjusted, and the cries of the world, well, they are harder to erase. She could be anyone, but she is not. She is unprotected like me, her exposed heart a safety hazard the world needs. We brush eyes on the stairway and she feels me blush. I search for something to stand on and fall deep within her gaze. The sound of her footsteps echoing against sound and shadow. I carry the memory of our silent collision inside me as sunlight hits my eyes. She walks away, almost turning back, her heartbeat quickening the space around her. Yes, it is, I mutter. Yes, it is very big.
Hi, everybody. Can you hear me? I'm not very used to Zoom, so, okay, good. My name's David Luntz. My story was first published in Orca, and it's a bit of a Cinderella thing because I hadn't been writing maybe for 10 or 12 years. And I guess COVID changed everything. So I started writing, and I wrote this story. It was inspired actually by a poem that I'd written maybe 20 years ago, and I guess the poem wasn't complete. And so I got this story and I sent it out, and it just got rejected everywhere. Eventually Orca picked it up, and it was incredible. And they nominated it, and here I am. So it's utterly surreal. But here we go. It's called A Fall Play in 1 Act and 3 Scenes. Oh, let me just see if I can read it off here. Scene 1, cabin, farm and woods, late October. Beyond my porch, a violent gust scatters leaves towards the afternoon light. The last train of butterflies flees south. A lone hawk rides a thermal, spiraling upwards. The sky spreads over us, as if just yanked from infinity, still bleeding from its blue umbilicus. Straggling bands of cirrus cinch the wound. The shot came from 400 yards away, past the stream, up in the trees. I hear the dull thud of a bullet punching through flesh. The hawk dips slowly into the wind. From that height, it would see who took the shot. Bolt action, hollow point, 33 grain, 15 pounds of recoil energy. I've been around enough guns most of my 80 years to know. The shooter was going for the heart, but misjudged the spindrift. I stumbled down the porch steps cursing. I can't be doing this. My hip is busted. I wonder, why'd he do it from so far away? Fucking amateur. I stagger through a grove of spruces. Spiderwebs sway from their clefted gibbets. Some stick to my face. Husks of blowflies sprinkle the ground like pistachio shells tossed from idle spectators at a hanging. There's a maple tree up right ahead, a blazing loom, spinning gold leaves. Each step I take to it is discovering some new land in an uncharted world of agony. At last, I gasp against the tree, shaking. My daughter is buried below it. I mouth a broken prayer to her. I am not sure why. I talk to her all the time. A bear claw has left a 2-inch gash in the trunk. I smooth the bark around it, trying to mend the deformity. I lick my fingers. They taste like quinine. medicinal. It doesn't help my pain. Beneath the bare gash, though, swims a sweet sap, as sweet as the inside of a hummingbird's throat. Like hope buried beneath a thick rind of despair, I dig my nails into it, trying to scratch my way to that sugar. I've been trying to do that my whole life, but there's no time now. 40 yards away, more like 40 miles, I wobble over to the woodshed. My body is going numb. On the floor, a crated beehive conceals a rusted spoke of a wheelbarrow. A shovel and a 12-inch serrated blade sit in its cracked tub. I reach down for them. Time to bury mistakes. Scene 2, fields, hilltop clearing, late October. Outside again, another wave builds up far away. I feel it in my knees. The ebbing away of air, the sudden drop of pressure, exposes a jagged shore of beetled carapaces choking up ruts in my fields. I am crawling over them. I have no strength to stand and walk. In my chest, hoofbeats gallop over crooked ribs, down a warped plank of spine. The pain is so bad, I roll on my back for a moment to scream. I am drenched in sweat. The hawk is still up there, absorbing everything. Space suspends into stillness as it does during an eclipse. I sense the air like an invisible sleeve getting turned inside out, summer's dead skin slipping away. I am passing through one season into another, turned inside out too, belly sliding now up a hill, dragging the spade behind me with one hand, clawing the earth in front with the other, the sharp metallic taste of steel clenched in my teeth. The summit has a clearing where they always come to die. With a final push, I slither through the undergrowth to the open ground. There it lies, just as I thought, the hole 4 centimeters away from the heart, not clean. Large black eyes plead with me. They are confounded by existence. I sense we're approaching each other from different universes, but will converge in the same thought. I sit up and cradle its head in my lap. I stroke its neck. Its eyes are like my daughter's beneath the blazing tree. I sing it a lullaby, the same I sang to her every night. Its wheezing slows down as if it's going to sleep. Maybe the song earns my trust. Maybe it understands my pain too. Maybe it's too tired to care. For a moment, the three of us are together. My mouth tastes like salt. My eyes burn. The creature goes still. The knife won't be needed. The wave breaks and showers us in leaves. The ground here is brittle and crusted like old scabs. The shovel will help me to stand up. I know it'll break when I dig the grave. Scene 3, woods, hilltop clearing, late October. There is a crack like close thunder. There is pain with no previous memory. There is panic. There is a place I must get to. There is a dark cloud of flies who smell my blood. There is sunlight going cold on my back. There is a hawk watching from above. There is a hill and the baked scent of earth. There is a clearing where I can now go to sleep. A shadow crawls over me, panting and groaning. It smells sickly. It grips my head and howls as my children do when they are lost. It weeps into my mouth. The tears carry something sweet, something I've sought my whole life but never tasted. The water that flows deep inside the tree, whose leaves turn to fire when the days grow short.
Okay, so my name's James Miller, and I'm going to be reading a piece called Perry and Joe's Uranium Sitting Pavilion. And this was originally published in Rabbit Oak. It's based on an anecdote that I heard from my wife's grandfather. It turns out there really actually was a Perry and Joe's Uranium Sitting Pavilion in Texas in the 1950s. And so this was kind of me spinning off what I imagine that might have been like, I guess. And there actually was an article published in Life magazine in the 1950s about this place, strangely. Okay. Every night we finished September dinner in 1955 Comanche, Texas. Stand slow with gravy gut, hobble to the parlor for a song. My wife is graced across the circle, luminous with lunar health, voice and verses hopped up on Royal Davids. Driving home in the pickup, she asks, "What ails you? Why not take the cure at the Uranium Sitting Pavilion just up the road? $2 for a foot mounting, somewhat more for full body. Let the loaded soil cover you, 2 feet deep in death, head angled to the air so you can breathe. Low Geiger farm boy birthright shovels full. They say it cures asthma to cancer, gout to Great Depression. Same for pilgrim butchers as stuck pig bankers' sons like you. Can't carry a tune except in your digestive midnight privates. Did you hear the one about Enoch with the diabetes? Left foot long gone, whiskey soured the night. Last month, he coughed 2 bits for a cure, joined the line of penitent's toes in the trowel, scanned obits in the Comanche chief, then pulled out his rounded stump and cried, "Lordy, where is it wormed off to? Save your sordid piggies, for it's too late." So I think, my dear, that's a thought. Make an appointment for 11:30 next Thursday. Neighbors say you don't feel nothing, not even a tingle. Maybe an ankle itch you can't scratch. Could I pay extra to feel a few clumps cross nose and throat? Chest heaves as usual in the underneath. The man in the stall next door snores while Joe threads between patients in his white overalls, comforting as a soda jerk in a Philco television playhouse bridge scene. And here's Perry now, crouched to say, "Time to flip you over, friend." Grain-fed sliced American, want grease, no grief.
Hi, everyone. I'm Maria Picconi, and I'm going to read my piece, Procedures for Moving House in The Sims 4. It was originally published in Railroad Review, and I have a great staff. This piece was written in response to your prompt about the cleft between the real world and the imagined world, which then turned into this really autofiction. Get fed up with tripping over your art easel and violin case. You're running out of space for new paintings, photos, and keepsakes. Never fear that you lack the money to purchase a decent living space. Any level 3 career will do. Announce to no one that you're moving. Select a house or apartment on your smartphone or personal computer in a matter of minutes. Don't fret about your stuff. It will go into your family inventory for easy placement or sale later. Nothing will get lost. Gauge how much money you'll have left over. The way you pay the deposit in Boulder, discharged any fees, and hired movers to wrap your furniture in plastic gauze and drive it 1.5 miles away from your old home. Make the change an instant after selecting your desired lot. You won't need to clean, trash old items from past tenants, or spend the entire moving day doing a pre-cleaning to get a $35 "shucks, we're sorry" refund from your new property management company. Coincidentally, they're rated 1 star on Yelp. Once you arrive, snap all your furniture to a grid. If you must reorient your furniture, you can do so by clicking a single button. You can recolor items that don't match using the swatch tool. Use your remaining money to fill out the empty space within seconds. You never have to fit your furniture through awkward 1900s doors without ruining the door jamb. No need to spend 3 hours sitting on every chair in the furniture store, nor will you have to undergo the upselling attempts of a scraggly salesman. The furniture will last until you want it to. No worries about the pleather chair beginning to peel within 6 months. If you choose to deplane from your relationship, it's easy. Select whichever sim wants to go. The household funds will be divided in half, as will the furniture. You can decide who keeps the house and who leaves. It's not like he tells you that you have 3.5 days to move out because he's going home for Thanksgiving. Like you have less than $400 in your checking account and rack up more than $1,000 in postage because you haven't the time to hire movers. Not like you have to throw every ounce of your life on a bonfire of vanities to spare his pain. At the end, once the charity comes to pick up your accoutrements from the porch, it will be like those 5 years never even happened. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Jan Stinchkum, coming to you from Southern California, and I'm going to read Raise the Babies, which was originally published in Fractured, and it was inspired by, very simply, the childcare challenges that many of us have every day. Raise the Babies. Goth Nanny. The baby sees black eyeliner circling dead eyes that teach skepticism or something more sinister, a desire to detach from society. The buggy is covered in black satin. Goth Nanny likes to hang out by the cliffs along the sharp stone edge in view of the murderous sea. She communicates with the baby using a sign language of her own design, one heavy with menacing gestures. A smirk drags down the blood-red corners of her mouth as she reads pavement-thick Anne Radcliffe novels. Later, they will go to the graveyard, the only place where Goth Nanny smiles wide. In the meantime, the baby sits up and shakes the nanny's thermos of espresso, enjoying the sloshing sound it makes and noticing, because this baby will be an audio engineer, the distinct difference between the crashing waves below and the secret splash inside the cold metal cylinder. Ladybug Nanny. The baby lives with the awareness of impending flight. Early on, this baby has learned that cuteness does not equal goodness. Fly away home, the nursery rhyme goes, introducing the baby to images of fire and missing children. Sometimes Ladybug Nanny arrives home in triumph, looking like a chubby red sports car, carrying diapers and ice cream and Prosecco, but the baby is not fooled. This nanny was hired to stay, not leave, and there is no reason to praise her return. Fortunately, the baby is an entrepreneur who uses everything life throws at her. Fly Away Home will launch the realty business that grows into a brokerage, then into a construction firm, and finally into a village of minimalist red buildings on stilts that address urban density while gently persuading people to fear flood over fire. Spider Nanny. The baby is in love, just as the mother predicted, though the mother's friends are horrified. Social workers are called in but disappear with a chilling consistency. Everyone admits that the spider silk layette is beautiful, and even the judgmental neighbor leaves her linens to be mended by Spider Nanny. How can you beat 8 eyes? The mother asks, determined to shame all those who dare criticize her. I hired a nanny who would help my girl for life, one who would show her how to handle men. The friends look around without speaking. Nobody knows who the baby's father is. Nobody ever mentions him, not at birthdays, not even at the big graduation party after the baby has completed her fancy fashion degree on a weaving scholarship. Octopus Nanny. The baby never wants for anything. Each arm of Octopus Nanny holds something different: a bottle, a hammer, a plush heart toy, a thermometer, an astrolabe, a pacifier, a cell phone, a baby. They spend half the day at the city aquarium, the rest on the teal love seat. The parents feel unneeded, unwanted. Sometimes, in the dark, They wince at the sensation of tentacles kissing their skin while strong arms anchor them to the bed, forcing their union. Often the mother wakes screaming, then runs to the nursery where the baby is neither drowning nor suffocating. He sleeps the sleep of babies while Octopus Nanny lurks in the temperate nursery aquarium. Does she ever sleep? The mother struggles with jealousy and resentment until the day she realizes, while listening to Jacques Cousteau, that the octopus had no choice but to become a nanny. Motherhood would have killed her. The mother races to the nursery to apologize and finds the baby playing with 8 different piles of toys, turning effortlessly from one to another, never losing his place. Someone has been teaching him to multitask, preparing him for his life as a construction manager and a single dad. Punk Nanny. The baby likes to gum Punk Nanny's stiff lavender mohawk. The baby takes a biscuit and dips it into the mug of milky tea that seems always to be cradled in Punk Nanny's right hand. She hangs from the chains on his black leather jacket. Punk Nanny is patient. His clients always speak early in polite sentences, though he himself says little. It's all in his smile, his mother explains when she drops by with carnation bouquets and strawberry tarts. He was born to be a nanny like all the men of our family. Punk Nanny's mother flicks her wrist so that her many diamonds catch the sunlight. She's about to leave for the airport. She and the baby's mother shake hands, smiling and nodding, but something unpleasant hovers between them. Is it competition? Distrust? Perhaps it is merely the yearning to stay with one's own child, which neither woman is able to do. The baby senses something is wrong, but instead of crying, she rises on 2 sturdy legs and walks for the pure joy of it, refusing to choose a career path. Thank you.
Oh, I want an octopus nanny. That was beautiful, Jan. Hi, I'm Megtuits, and I live in Santa Fe, New Mexico on Crazy Rabbit Road. And the story that I am reading from this is Spree, which was published in X-Ray magazine originally, and it's a scene of a novel that I've been working on for like 10 years. So that being said, Spree. Mom has an entire fortress of pillows that she readjusts around her body, barricading my skin against bed sores. Stay in one place for too long, and you'll have to order another ass from Walgreens. Amber prescription bottles layer her bedside table. She marks the empties with a black X. Doesn't throw them away until a refill has been secured. Rustling toes mow through bed sheets as Mom drags up another mini vodka with her feet. The bottomless cascade of that clear liquid is her Niagara Falls. She is queen of the mini island. Bottles are stashed away in pockets, beds, pillows, shoes, drawers, seat cushions. She buys tiny airplane-sized bottles and layers the counter with them at the Walgreens every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. I'm not a weekender, she tells the clerk. The Friday cattle who line up here are absurd, like accountants and flags. No matter who's behind the register, Mom is told that the larger bottles are much cheaper. She's not an idiot. She loads up her empty purse with them, holds her hand up to her mouth as though it's a secret, and whispers to the clerk, "Hide the evidence. You get it, right?" Every time they laugh as though this is some kind of code that every customer, whether living in a cardboard box or a 3-story house with kids, doesn't access. "Elvirus, I've been calling you," she says, as though I can't hear the wheels of her guttural somnolent chant running over and over in my head. We're going shopping. Light Mom a cigarette and get her a glass of ice for her vodka. She doesn't call me by my chosen name and speaks in third person after a few drinks. Don't forget her lemon, Elvine, she thrums through a bloom of smoke. By the time I get back with her glass, she's dressed in one of her slinky 70s dresses. This mimicry exhibits all the features of someone's mom, but not mine. My mom only goes out for liquor. Her hair is combed. She isn't wearing her shredding nylon nightgown with, coffee splotch stains and cigarette holes anymore. I stare in the mirror. I still look like her kid. My bangs are crooked and I wear stagnant knockoffs with shoulder pads, budding breasts polyp through mom's darts, pleated jean skirts and shiny pink, green, and red blouses with moving motifs of lava lamp patterns, fringe and bell bottoms from the pioneer days of mom's closet. I have a gift for reassembling the backwash material with scissors and safety pins. Do we need to lock the door? Mom searches her purse for a key she doesn't possess as we walk out into infested air thick with all the lives before it. Mom and I slog through Harwood Avenue to catch a bus 5 blocks away. She wavers on a slight incline with her head and upper torso 2 steps ahead of the rest of her. She doesn't drive anymore. I was 11 when I drove us home after Mom had one of her panic attacks. Slammed over a curb into the yard of someone's rummage sale. She didn't hit anybody, but faces unhinged from the broken down armoire, bicycles, tool sets, cloths, toys, and astrology books they'd been rummaging through. Mom's hands were claws. Too much white hovered around the persecuted gray of her eyes. I had to unclench her fingers from the steering wheel and sit on top of her. When we got home, she shut the door to her room and didn't come out for a few days. Dad whispered menopause, but I knew this was no kind of pause. We got off the bus in front of the old bag secondhand store. These clothes are married to a history you can feel. They didn't come from cheap labor in China. Check the labels, Mom says. I'm 14. I don't check labels. I rake through racks to find something normal that will fit me. Some lady with a skin-rippled overlip keeps threading silent eye-pong accusations in my direction as she folds sweaters and talks to the woman behind the counter. They have the exact same haircut. A mutt is a mutt, she says. You don't have any idea what you're getting. You remember that guy who had the same mutt for like 10 years? And they find him mauled in his backyard? I mean, that's the chance you take when you go to one of those shelters. With a pedigree, you can check out the parents of the litter and you know what you're bringing home. The other lady looked bored, like she'd heard this shit before. Overlip glanced over at me. You can only take 6 items in the dressing room, honey. 6. She held up 6 ringed fingers. Mom was already in a dressing room. I could see the maxi dresses looped over the door. It was either nightgowns or slinky dresses. And I loved when she dressed up, even when she wasn't going anywhere. That meant Mom was back in the world with us. This place wasn't an easy score. The women were checking my every move. Here, honey, let me help you. What size are you? 6? So much for a free one. Mom never helped. She wasn't the mom who talked with women. She could care less what transpired between us. Her universe placated one being. Mom bought me a pair of jeans and some sandals and said yes to all the dresses. After we got back on the bus and walked a few blocks to get home, Mom unzipped the dress she was wearing and had 2 more on underneath. She ripped them off. That feels much better. I was getting hot. Honey, can you get me a few lemons? You stole those dresses? Oh, no one else could have pulled these dresses off, Albatross. Let's be definitive. I was saving the ladies a few hangers. Thank you.
That's a wrap, everyone. Thank you all so much for reading such wonderful pieces and reading them so well. And thank you all for tuning in and checking out the reading. Best Small Fictions 2021 is what we were highlighting today. And again, thanks all and be well.
Thank you. Bye.